This is a worn down garden bench, and we're going to restore it today on Luffy Furniture. I picked up this bench off of Facebook Marketplace for $50. The bench was pretty beat up, but under all the rotten wood and rust, there was a vintage cast iron frame holding it all together. I started by cutting off all the rusty bolts. I grabbed an old angle grinder and just cut them right off. To anyone that's going to mention the dry grass under and all the sparks that would catch the grass on fire, grass is actually wet from all the snow melting. The only hazard is all the sparks flying at my crotch. The wood that was holding it all together was so rotten, it literally just fell apart when I was moving it. Next thing was to prep the cast iron frame and backrest for paint. Using a drill gun and a wire brush attachment, I removed as much of the surface rust buildup as I could, giving everything a good brushing all over. The original green paint was actually a powder coat, and removing it was really difficult, so I just decided to clean it up as best as I could. The wire brush barely made a dent in the powder coated paint, as you can see. Now the frame and backrest need a good wash and clean. I grabbed a dollar store brush, some dish soap, good old Queen Elizabeth, and got to work cleaning. I made sure to give everything a good brushing to cover all the surfaces so everything was clean. If any of the surfaces were dirty, none of the primer would stick or any other paint. More brushing, more washing. After all the surfaces are now dry and clean, we're finally ready for some primer. I used a Rust-Oleum flat black primer. I gave everything 2 coats of primer and double checked for any drips. Once the primer was dry, I grabbed a piece of 320 grit sandpaper and gave everything a light sanding to even out the surfaces. You can see the overspray spots where I'm sanding. Just gotta sand everything down smooth and it's ready for paint. I sprayed everything with 4 coats of black semi-gloss Rust-Oleum spray paint. I made sure to spray from all 4 sides to make sure everything was covered. I tried to use a smooth sweeping motion as I was spraying the paint to apply it. There was a few times as I was spraying, my finger kind of slipped forward and it got caught in the spray. I didn't realize I would get finger fatigue from all the paint can spraying. Maybe on the next project, I'll have to get a sprayer. When you're not working inside a shop, you gotta be resourceful. I put together this miter saw station with some stop blocks so all the wood slats would at least be the same 48-inch long. Speed cut time. The species of wood chosen for the slats was Douglas fir. Douglas fir does very well outdoors due to its high natural oil content. Paired with a good outdoor finish, it works really well outside. It's also very economically priced, which we all love. All the boards have been sanded using 120 grit and 180 grit with the orbital sander. I finished off everything with a little bit of hand sanding and a 320 grit. All the surfaces have been sanded down, and the next step now is to drill all the holes for the slats. I used a spare cutoff and marked the holes to match the frame and the bolt holes. I then used that piece as my template to drill all the other holes for the remaining slats so that they would all match and be even. Speed drill time. All done. Time for some finish. I mixed up a custom Danish oil color. It ended up being half natural color and half black walnut. I wanted to dilute the black walnut to make it a little bit less dark. I applied about 4 coats of Danish oil throughout the day, and once the wood stopped absorbing the oil, I grabbed a clean cloth and wiped all the surfaces clean. I made sure to thoroughly wipe the surfaces so that there was no residual oil left over. I left the panels to dry for 3 days in my garage, making sure all the surfaces were thoroughly dry before moving forward. The Danish oil has now fully cured, polymerizing the wood surface. Now we need to seal and weatherproof the panels. I chose to use some Varathane Outdoor Diamond Coat Semi-Gloss Sealer. This will cover the surface of the panels with a durable, weatherproof protective finish. 4 coats was applied, sprayed from all sides. I gave the tops of the carriage bolts a quick spray so they would match the bench better. Everything is now ready to be bolted together. I started by placing all the panels together and hand threading all the bolts. What are those? Crocs are my choice of daily work shoes when it's safe, and yes, I have a hole in my pants. A broken mirror cut through my pants one day and grazed my gluteus maximus. And now I got a really cool scar. I gave the backrest a dry fit, and now that everything is lined up, it's ready to all be bolted and tightened down. I flipped the bench over so it was a little bit easier to screw together and tighten the bolts. I made sure not to over torque the bolts so I wouldn't damage any of the wood slots. One more screw and it's complete. Now for the reveal. Cue the music. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.